What else do you have?
Well, we could dive in a little bit to college football, Dan, if you want.
Okay.
Here's one for Paulie. What should be the primary rationale for putting a team in the college football playoff? Their season resume or how competitive they would be in the playoff itself?
Well, that's tricky because he's emphasized the word primary.
Yeah.
You can have both.
Yeah.
But what's your main decision based on?
I think I got to look at your resume. Did you get you a conference title game? I think those are important ingredients to have, that at least you know, what do we need to do to get into the playoffs? If you need to be in your conference title game or win your conference title, then I think you got to start there. Just to be fair to everybody, that you have sort of the same requirements there. Now, do I think that Alabama would be dangerous in the playoffs? I do. That doesn't mean they deserve to be in there. And the Ohio State got in. I was wondering if the committee was going to have Michigan versus Ohio State, TCU versus Georgia. And keep in mind, maybe it wouldn't be warranted, but it's a TV show. If I said you could have the first game, Ohio State, Michigan, rematch, neutral field, sure thing. TCU, Georgia may not be pretty. But is it fair to Georgia that they start out with Ohio State? That's tough sledding, too. But I wasn't surprised at anything. I watched the Utah game, and when Caleb Williams was down, not out, but he was down, he looked great in the first quarter, and then you could see where he was hobbled. Still, that USC defense, there's no excuse for that. Caleb Williams at least had an excuse there. Still think he's going to win the Heisman. Give credit to Utah. Utah did not blink and was not afraid. And what they did in the fourth quarter was very, very impressive there. Yeah, Paul.
It's wild that 2 years from now, Utah would be in the playoffs based off that win. Yeah. Tulane would be in the playoffs. Yeah. K-State would be in the playoffs, which means all these at-large teams. There was a point, though, where TCU was down 9 to K-State, and I thought Kansas State was going to score another touchdown. And I started thinking, we're all thinking in real time, like, if TCU loses by 2 touchdowns plus, what would that have done to Alabama's chances?
And they still, TCU, from what I was told from the outset, and said this last week, even if they lose that game, they would stay in the Final Four. And they did. By the way, I think Max Duggan, the quarterback, will join us on the program tomorrow. Pac-12 matched the SEC for the most teams in the rankings. You have 6. Utah, USC, Washington, Oregon State, Oregon, and UCLA. Interesting year for the Pac-12, obviously losing USC and UCLA, and then what teams do they add? What schools do they add?